Grumpy old Biden. Biden my time is what it should be.
That's what the Trumpers are saying.
It only took him 80 years, but he finally has been president.
I just want y'all to know we've been a very successful year.
Michael, haven't you heard he's not actually the president? They're currently on a soundstage at somebody's house, and Biden's been dead for 10 years.
I'm not current with the meta for the presidency, so sorry, that's gamer speak.
Thank you.
I'm not up to date with the current meta for the presidency to put it in gamer terms. So.
Oh, do you want my mom's phone number?
No. I
do.
Don't care.
You're offering it to the wrong member of this podcast.
We've all been described as motherfuckers. Might as well make good.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Butt fart is down, sure.
Butt fart is down for anything, okay? That's what you need to understand first and foremost.
Can Butt fart refer to himself only in the third person? Butt fart.
Butt fart Brimley. There I go.
Oh, no.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, if your mom doesn't want the vaccine, I'll just fuck it into her.
So, I saw this thing while I was waiting for my computer to do its thing. I saw this article about how the Trumpers are now going and getting the vaccine so they can get their passports, but they're using snake venom extractors right after getting the vaccine to try to pull it out of them, which is not how it works, but this is a great way.
Poison out.
Yes, this is a great way to get them vaccinated because it won't work.
No, you can't suck the venom out. That's like basic first aid.
This is how most of them thought they stayed virgins through high school.
If I just suck the venom, oh god.
Suck the poison out.
Yeah, he came inside of me, but he also sucked it out.
He sucked it out. Felching became very popular when the fucking Trump term started.
I am still a virgin.
Well, if you do it in the butt, it doesn't count, right?
Well, you know,
Man,
John.
you've had 3 children. How are you a virgin? He sucked out 70% of them.
It's a virgin birth, all 3 of them.
It's not premarital sex if you never get married, so.
Touche.
I've never heard that before. That's awesome.
Too true.
If you never plan on getting married, there's no pre about it.
Nope.
Yeah.
I'm married to God.
Married to the game.
Does he call you anymore, or did Fitty ruin that for you?
Fitty and ASAP, they really fucked it up for me.
Yeah, it tends to happen.
Oof.
Grimly.
I'd love to hear a rap album featuring Wilford Brimley.
Don't.
You better get over here and suck my penis, because if you don't, you get diabetes.
Diabetes.
Got more sugar than a snap pea. So that's why you had better suck me.
You gotta suck it out. You gotta suck the poison
Suck
out.
out the poison.
I got big pop bottle glasses, and that's how I'm topping asses. Here we go.
This is the best Rule 34 I've ever seen.
Tell me, Michael,
Brimley.
that you're gonna rewind this, and you're gonna make sure the context is
No, fuck context.
This is going to start with MC Brimley for the remainder of the show.
Oh, yes. Asher literally just texted me and he said, okay, I think I'm officially sold and I think you should leave. That means Shane is not far behind.
No. You're going to have like 7 years before I'll even deign to watch another YouTube clip of this shit.
Also, I need to be way more careful about what I share with you guys, and especially Courtney.
What?
Because
chlamydia?
Becky and I went to Green last night to get some tasty vegan veggie food, and across the street is this really awesome beer bar that reminds me of the old place that I used to work, but like if they tried and had a plan. So while we're pulling in though, I see Jonah's vehicle because it's very obvious. Like Jonah's car stands out in a crowd. What does he drive?
So you stalk him.
It's a cute little red go-kart.
Beep beep.
So he's Donkey Kong?
What is it actually though?
It's a Miata.
I call it his pussy wagon. So it turns out that they're at this beer bar, so we get our food, go across the street, and we walk in. And right as I walk in, was it Jonah or you that was like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy that you wanted to meet."
This is Jonah,
yeah. Their friend. They point to their friend that's sitting, on the corner with them, and apparently they'd been telling them about my misadventures in my adolescence.
The pussy died.
The old wall slinging story, I guess, had just been told.
Literally 15 minutes before you text me, we were talking about, gross things that teenagers do, and I was like, whoa, well, I got a story for you.
You made your mom a cum scrubber that worked outside of a porn store.
I mean, it's a church for starters, but yeah.
If the glove fits.
No glove, no love.
Yeah.
Anywho, speaking of misspent seed, Heil, cum slingers, and welcome to the Disinformed podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
Crispy Duncan, thank you.
Oh, Courtney, you have a School of Rock story.
Are we going back to the old format now? Is that what we're doing?
No.
Yeah, sure.
Apparently
fuck it,
he's
let's
trying.
I'm not trying to. I'm just excited because this made me laugh really hard last night.
So Jonah and I watched School of Rock the other night for like the first time because we'd never seen that movie. And literally 2 days later, I get in my Google News feed that one of the child actors from that movie has been arrested. And that...
Jack Black.
No.
Isn't that like the third one out of the whole crew or something?
Let me pull up his name. But the beauty...
Coincidentally, I've never watched this film, so I'm gonna be Michael here, whistling
You're
"Stranger in
not
Paradise."
Actually, enjoy it. What? Yeah. Okay. So if Michael says you're not missing much, and I say it's worthwhile, then I feel like the happy medium is you at least have to check it out, right?
I
You gotta
disagree.
watch the trailer and decide for yourself.
He's seen the trailer.
You're the man who's been recommending I watch Walk Hard for the last 10 years as well.
Because
so.
you already quote like 90% of the movie because of the band.
Yes, it's funnier than most of the shit that comes out of your mouth. So
I
I
know!
should just try to compensate.
All right, so Joey Gatos Jr., who played Zack Attack in School of Rock, was arrested this week by Florida police for stealing guitars and an amp and selling them to pawn shops over the weekend. His whole thing in that movie was he was like the savant guitar kid. So the fact that life has taken him down this road is just very upsetting.
It's ironic. So
this
funny.
is like the woman who won the Great British Bake Off and then was apprehended stealing flour and sugar out of a grocery store in the UK.
Also didn't know that, but I love it.
Yeah, irony.
We live in trying times, y'all.
Or times where people are trying, apparently. But instead, apparently Michael has decided this week to kick the bucket and move on to an entirely different topic. Am I correct?
Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. No,
Man,
no bucket
why
war.
didn't you try this with your major then?
You
You could have been done by now.
Damn.
You're not wrong.
Bruh.
Okay,
So
well,
Courtney told Becky how long you've been in college, Michael, and she had to count it out on her hands to figure out how old you were.
I mean, I'm only a couple months younger than you are, so...
I know.
Well, that doctorate impresses me more and more every time I hear about it. Anywho, for those who are completely uninitiated and are playing the home game, on this show, we like to delve into random esoteric topics, and in the course of explaining them to one another, we will lie about them. That is the shtick. That is the 404 error message, because there is no content to be found. And unfortunately, we just keep digging, hoping that we're going to get a reboot. But 2 seasons in, and it still ain't happened yet. But we can hope. The whole point of the show is for those who are attentively listening and those who are blindly stabbing to occasionally find one of those lies in situ and yell posse at it. And that is the hope. And so tonight, Michael's going to regale us with a tale of his first time with a sex worker.
Oh my god.
No.
It's a tale as old as time.
That is the movie length. That is when we go a 4-hour long
and the
saga, and it's going to be rated X,
It's actually
not
Michael
because
and
of
the
the
cheese.
sex,
And it's going to be scored by MC Brimley.
If only. So I will start out by saying that there are 7 lies tonight.
You think that I was playing harmonica. Actually, it's just the wind whistling through my mustache hairs.
Please keep him in. I need him.
7 lies, you say?
Yes.
All right.
What if I told you there used to be a magic place where boys could be boys, girls could be girls, and you can get drunk as fuck and high as a kite while having the time of your life?
I tell you to fuck off and get a real job.
Are you doing what I
mouth-breathing
think
son
you're
of a
doing,
bitch.
Michael?
Yes,
Yay!
you are. Yes, you are right. A place where regulation is for stuffy government
Amen.
suits and not for the cool 14-year-olds who run the park when they're not having sex while tripping on acid.
Are you referring to the university you work for?
Yeah.
They're not
I've heard
14, they're 18.
Yeah, I beg to differ.
For legal purposes, they're 18. A place
Oh my God.
a place where you can
It's
get...
never stopped you before, I'm
God.
afraid.
I wish I could say I was that cool.
Yeah.
What?
A place where you can get blitzed at a local brewery, then go drive go-karts right next to an easily accessible freeway. A place where you can go down a concrete and fiberglass water slide with abrupt 90-degree turns that break your bones. Well, boys and girls of all ages, there was such a magical place that was the wet dream of all libertarians. And this place was called Action Park.
Yay!
Yeah? Yes?
I
Yeah?
am terrified if this is any indication of what's to come.
It's gonna be. I'm gonna take you through to mystical places.
I thought Action Park was the star of Kung Fu Hustle.
Not tonight.
Okay, all right.
Not tonight.
Tonight.
The brainchild of a Eugene Mulvihill.
Excuse me?
Mulvihill. No, Mulvihill. Yeah. Mulvihill. And that's
Mulvihill?
Mulvihill? That's close enough. Eugene, a man who made his fortune on pump and dump scams in the early 70s.
What's a
So
pump
sex
and dump
workers
scam?
again.
Well, it's when you start a company whose sole purpose is to manage a fund that buys and sells various stocks. These funds are called ETFs and they're perfectly illegal. I'm just stating that.
There's other folks that are pumping stocks that are DTFs, and it's entirely different.
Oh,
And
yes,
Michael
yes.
knows all about them as well.
That's next week. The illegal part is after you invest enough people, after you get enough people to invest into your fund, you use this fund to heavily invest in other stocks that you own, dramatically boosting those stock prices. You then sell those personal shares of those stocks for a substantial profit while leaving everyone else in the dust. And then you just chalk it up as a loss because, hey, your fund lost money. Oops.
Sorry.
Yes.
I'm calling bullshit up front that says that Eugene had nothing to do with this, and this is just you funneling your GameStop saga into a show.
Actually, no. He was part of pump and dump scams in the 70s. And that
All
is an
right.
actual term.
That's how you wind up with kids if you're Catholic.
But I will say that
Hi.
you were close enough. How I described a pump and dump scam is wrong. It's not that.
Okay.
It's a lot easier than that. You purchase a worthless stock, not GameStop, but a worthless
Disagree.
So the Jordan
Subjective.
Belfort over here is what you're referring to.
stock. Yes.
Now
And
sell
then,
me this pencil.
is that from Mad Men?
No, it is not.
Okay. Because that was the era.
Okay.
Yes. So you purchase stock in a worthless company. Then you try and sell other people on this stock. Say, hey, purchase this stock. It's great. It's going
So it's
places.
GameStop.
No.
Yeah.
I actually wrote in a little disclaimer here that discounts GameStop because the main people that were trying to make money off of GameStop were trying to hope that it crashed as opposed to hoping that it would get better. So it was more...
Like your
Anyway.
college career.
Yes! People were hoping that it would fail.
Invest a lot in hoping it's going to crash.
Yes.
All right.
But essentially, pump and dump, you purchase money in a worthless stock, you sell it to other people hoping that they invest, the stock goes up, you sell before everyone else does, you make a lot of profit, they're left in the dust. So this Eugene did that. He actually had his own company called Mayflower Securities. He sold people on this particular electronic stock where the company had already went bankrupt. But apparently you were still able to purchase their stock. So he got a lot of people to purchase or buy into the stock. He made a lot of money from it, which is not legal. And the Securities, what was it exactly? The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, pretty much found out and told him that his company was suspended on the grounds that selling its customers worthless securities in a bankrupt electronics company is not allowed. And so his company was disbanded, and he was essentially barred from Wall Street. No one wanted to do business with him because he got found out.
Ooh.
So, during his Wall Street days, he had invested in a ski resort called Vernon Valley Ski Area, which went bankrupt around the same time that he was banned from Wall Street. He jumped on the opportunity, and he and a couple of his buddies started a company called the Great American Recreation, or GAR, and purchased said ski resort in 1974.
Also, was it actually called Mayflower?
Yes, it was called Mayflower Securities. Yeah, which
The
I thought
GAR
was
of them.
interesting. But yes, so him and a couple of his buddies formed the Great American Recreation and purchased these ski resorts in 1974. They are located in the great state of New Jersey in a town called Vernon. The ski resort was expanded under GAR, adding a bunch of restaurants, shops, spas, and so on. But one thing that they were lacking was income during the summer months, because who wants to ski down a mountain when there's no snow, right? I mean, when you put it that way.
I want to John Denver myself out of here as quickly as possible. No, sorry, Sonny Bono. Either
Is
way.
that how he died?
I don't get the
Sonny
reference.
Bono died skiing. John Denver flew into the side of a mountain.
Well, if you
Either
gotta
way,
go
take
out,
your pick.
They both sound like fun, to be
Yeah,
honest.
I'm excited for this.
So they debated what to do, and Eugene decided, let's open an amusement park. You know, make some money during the summer months, then it goes into the winter months, it snows, everything, people ski, etc. The amusement park, originally called Vernon Valley Summer Park, later changed to Action Park, opened on the 4th of July, 1978. To celebrate, Eugene came up with 2 opening day promotions, a tobacco spitting contest, and, this was interesting, a Dolly Parton look-alike competition.
The tobacco spitting was bullshit.
No, they are both true.
Wow.
I thought it was going to be Give Coke to Kids Day.
It is New Jersey, so
Seen it.
his first ride, which he designed himself, was an Alpine Slide that he called creatively the Alpine Slide.
Wow.
I wonder where he got the name.
Yes, I know. Built before the park originally opened in 1978. It was a slide, because I didn't know what an Alpine Slide was. It was a slide where you ride a bobsled-like cart down. So instead of just sliding down normally, you're actually driving in a cart of some sort, like a bobsled.
Ooh.
So Splash Mountain?
Almost, but it's not with water. You're actually driving in a little cart, like an almost a motorized like bobsled. It was built on a steep ski slope that you can access using the ski lift that they already had in place. It was built out of concrete, fiberglass, and asbestos, which, if you know anything about water parks, that's not how they're built. They're usually built out of like forms of smooth plastic, not concrete. For anyone that has fallen off of a bike onto concrete, or just generally fallen on concrete, you know it's not the smoothest or softest material.
I disagree.
It comforted him like a warm blanket.
Indeed.
It enveloped him. He was
I
just
enjoyed every brain cell I sacrificed to it.
It's why he tolerates us.
That makes a lot of sense now.
I'm like a Jonah Falcon after, mid-erection.
so-
I just don't have thoughts anymore.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
Well, that's kind of what happened to your skin when you start riding along that concrete.
Just
I-
drizzles away.
I am hard on concrete because the concrete's hard on me.
Yeah, plastic's for pussies anyway.
Exactly.
I have a plastic pussy. It's delightful.
You do, actually. I forgot.
You legitimately have a fleshlight?
I do. I endorsed it
You had
on my first
2, don't
podcast.
you?
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have 2. Don't you call your mother that, John. It's disrespectful.
Boring conversation anyway.
Oh, Luke, we're going to have company.
So
Into
I
the
did...
garbage chute, Flyboy.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. So I mentioned that Eugene designed the ride himself. While he did get a bachelor's in physics before going into finance, he was not an engineer.
I'm saying
which is-
bullshit on the physics bachelors.
Yeah.
Don't throw in somebody else's dream in here, Michael.
I mean, I've done this before where I said someone got a bachelor's in physics.
I'm onto your shit now, my friend.
I
Yes.
couldn't not. It was... I have a lot of lies, and so I'm like, I can, just give some away.
That's the one
It's
you've been
fun.
telling your parents for the past 5 years.
Hey,
So,
I-
I have a bachelor's in physics.
I do have a bachelor's, but that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean shit. So,
He didn't rig shit.
I read somewhere that he had a bachelor's of science from, university and all that, but I couldn't confirm what it was. So,
Well,
yeah.
I have a doctorate in philosophy. So that
Oh, wow.
$3.50 will get you a cup of coffee from McDonald's.
That is true. He wasn't an engineer, regardless of whatever degrees he got before he went into finance. He was not an engineer, which is very important when designing a slide where people can easily fly off the track, which a lot of people did. But I'll get to that a little bit later.
There was
fine.
so much blood. It's incredible.
You're not wrong. It also didn't help that the carts barely had functioning brakes, where they usually would fail when you're going down the track. And there were 2 speeds that you can do on the cart. You can either go extremely slow, or, as one former employee described, death awaits.
Okay,
Why didn't
so
they just call this ride the ex-girlfriend?
I was going to say, yeah, this is like John's sex life. So it's a long, bloody canal that you can either go supremely slow or insanely fast on.
And
Either
no
way,
matter
you're gonna
what,
crash.
No
no
in
one's
between.
satisfied. Yeah,
Yes.
no one's satisfied and everything hurts.
It's like you take two pumps, you're like, whoa, gotta slow down. Hold on.
This next part is just
Sorry,
gonna
Mom.
great.
Sorry, God.
It's gonna be great with that context in mind.
Oh, good.
Just keep
yes.
that
Writers-
disgusting thing in mind.
Writers-
Apologies in advance, though. I'm going to stop cutting you off, Mark. Well, yeah, I'm super
fine.
slap happy. This
I-
whole week, my exhaustion is starting to show, and
You're
I'm
good.
still trying to muscle. So I'm like, I'm giddy for the most useless things right now. So
This
I'm
is
sorry
why
in
I'm
advance.
glad-
Welcome to life as me.
I'm glad I chose this one because the other topic that I prepared was a little bit more dry, and so I like this one because there's a lot more information. There's a lot
There's
more
lubricant in
interesting
this
shit.
one. Yes.
Not
Was this the
where it
episode you were
counts.
warning us about your Italian?
No, the other one was where I was warning about my
Oh.
Italian.
Nice.
There's no Italian here. Riders going on the slow speed were usually run over by those going on the death awaits speed.
So they invented bumper cars.
In a way, yes.
No way.
Remember, as I said countless times, this ride was not designed by a professional,
Indeed.
so people were easily thrown off their car, and even mild accidents suffered terrible road rash, since again, it's made of concrete. There was one story I read where someone went down in a polyester shirt, which was not the norm because people usually wore swimsuits when they were at this park, which melted to the person's skin. They got such road rash, they were grinding on that concrete so bad that their polyester shirt melted. I'm just stating that.
You shouldn't arouse John this way, Michael. I'm sorry.
Grinding on that concrete. Ooh-wee.
In polyester.
Ooh.
It's like, fucking one of the Furleys from Three's Company.
Also, since the ski lift went directly above the slide, there were cases where people would try and drop their cart on those driving underneath because you had to take the cart up on the ski lift.
Say what now?
Yeah,
so
not
you would have to attach your toboggan or slide or cart or whatever to your ski lift so you can ride it up and drive it down. People would find it funny, since they were going directly over the course that they were going to be riding on, to just drop their cart on whoever was passing underneath.
That's bullshit.
No, that's murder.
That is
Attempted murder.
as far as well, attempted, yes, but as far as I read, no one had ever died from a toboggan cart.
Spontaneous toboggan falling accident?
Yes, but people did do that. They also would spit and catcall people as they drove past, which is a reoccurring theme here.
Here's a toboggan for your noggin.
You're departing from your guy from diabetes, and I don't know where you're going, but I
can
like
change it up. You know,
He's freeform, man. He's not beholden to a certain category.
Trying to let you really hear the music in it.
Yeah, exactly. Where was it? Oh, yeah. In all, some 40% of park injuries throughout the whole time Action Park was open occurred because of this ride.
Can I call bullshit on the polyester shirt thing?
No, someone mentioned a story where their friend rode down in a polyester shirt and it melted to their skin.
What a weird inclusion, but okay.
Choice in general.
This is
this.
I will state for the record that most of my sources talk about this place in a loving term, like in loving words and flowery language, because it was their childhood.
Like Clark Griswold about Wally World.
Actually, exactly like that.
Okay.
And I do get the reference because I have seen National Lampoon's
one of the 5
Family
fucking
Vacation.
movies he's ever seen.
I've seen that and Christmas Vacation. So
call an ambulance. I'm having palpitations.
They actually had their own ambulance. I don't mention this in the episode, but they actually had to purchase their own ambulances because they had so many accidents that the local hospital stopped servicing them. They just didn't have the ambulances for it. They needed them for like other emergencies, and so they had to purchase their own.
The shock went straight to my groin. Quick, someone suck out the poison.
That also happens here. Let's see here. With a ride like that, can you guess how popular the park got? If you answered very, you'd be right. Eugene was great at promoting his park. Commercials aired constantly in a lot of the local areas because they catered primarily to they were only about an hour's drive from New York City. So they constantly advertised to people in the area because it wasn't that far of a drive, especially from big cities like Newark and all the other places that are like right there next to New York City. That's the only name. That's the only city.
I like that Newark's the one you pulled out.
That's
Couldn't
the
have been
only
like,
city I know
Brooklyn,
in New Jersey.
The Bronx, but no, Newark.
Newark is the only city that I know that's in New Jersey.
And it's just an airport.
Is it? I don't know. Is it? Fuck if I know. I've never been that far north or east.
Well, from what I understand, New Jersey's a trash hole for trash people.
Red Bank and Littletown are very upset
Take that
at you
back,
right
John.
now.
New Jersey's a very nice place.
To die.
That comes later.
Judas, no.
Commercials aired constantly with such slogans as "There's nothing in the world like Action Park" and "Get all the action you want at Action Park."
No.
How about, come on, get concussed with us.
No what?
Get all the
Courtney?
action you want. Come on, Michael.
Yeah, that's true.
Nice.
No, the actual one was "The action never stops at Action Park." And when I was writing that, I'm like, nah, get all the action you want.
That's good. I like it.
That's more apt. Yeah. Eugene advertised the park as being very much in the control of the customer, which was very true. He pretty much said, like, do whatever you want there. Like, and you can even see that in the one ride that I mentioned. You have 2 speeds. You have slow and get ran over, or fast and die. Spoilers. But also, you had a brake that sometimes worked or didn't. So he advertised that like extensively, which is Why? Like I said, the brakes were optional and there were several kart speeds. He even sold it to his investors as the Libertarian Paradise.
A feature.
Yes, it is a feature.
Do you think
It's not
the
a bug.
town that Shane talked about with the bear problem, like those people were like who this park was made for?
I
Fucking
bet
movie.
you, I would be very surprised if none of those people actually spent time at Action Park. There
Well,
had
and
to have
you're-
been a couple of people that went there.
You're also claiming that Penn Jillette endorsed this.
Absolutely.
This was during the park was it was open from 78 in the way that I'm describing it, with all the fun times where you have all the control that you want. It was open from 78 to 96. That comes later. You were making a jerking off
Literally.
motion. That comes later.
Thank you for describing it for the folks at home. It's a blow by blow, if you will.
Exactly.
That
Let's
comes
see.
later.
I've said that 3 times already. Eventually, Action Park expanded into several different parks. The Alpine Center, built alongside the mountain. Motor World consisted of rides based around powered. I almost said powdered. Powered
And then
vehicles.
Traction Park, which is where they take you once you get killed on a fucking ride.
That was actually a nickname that a lot of customers gave Action Park.
Traction Park.
Traction Park. Yes.
Okay.
Especially after they went on the Alpine Slide and they had no skin on most of their body.
I do want it. I'm going to make that's another t-shirt. Traction Park, come get concussed with us. I think it's going to be a good time for everybody.
We might get copyrighted by Action Park.
Fight me, Eugene.
Well, good for us. He's already dead, so we don't
Thank
need to worry
God.
about that. So, like I said, Alpine Center, which was built alongside the mountain and took advantage of ski lifts and all that. Motor World, which consisted of powered vehicles and boats in the swampland near Route 94, which ran alongside the mountain and ran to the mountain itself. And Water World, obviously a water-themed park. At its height, Action Park boasted some 75 rides, 40 of which were water slides.
Is the swamp thing bullshit?
No, it was in
Motored
Swampland.
vehicles?
It was in Swampland.
So they just gave him an ATV and let him troll him around in hopes of finding gators? Like, this isn't Florida. It's a
No.
dramatically different situation.
There can still be swamp, and it doesn't have to be like you're out in the boonies and it's all water. It can still just be like swampland that it's very wet
Oh, cool.
environment
Yes.
and stuff like that. Yes.
Come find the
I mean-
Mothman and the Jersey Devil down on your own motorcycle.
I mentioned this later, but I can mention it now. There was a water ride of sorts. They called it super speedboats of something like that. Pretty much it was a racetrack, but the pond that they were situated in was chock full of snakes. Where there
This
would be
doesn't sound
lifeguards.
like real life.
No, it is true. There were several accounts that I read where people would get so drunk, which I will mention in a moment, that they would flip their boats, and lifeguards would have to swim with snakes chasing after them to rescue these people who were too drunk and or high to know what was going on.
Difficulty
That's-
mode engaged.
Oh my God.
Now, you're probably wondering if all these rides, all 75 of them, were designed by Uncle Gene, as he was called by his employees.
Oh.
And the answer is, kinda. Most of the time, people would come to him with an idea for a ride, and he'd take the idea and make modifications of his own to it.
It's like, yeah, that's a great idea, but what if you could die?
But
Yeah, this isn't deadly enough.
what about snakes?
What if you can-
Snakes.
What if you can break your arms while you're being flung into a wall? Yeah, that sounds good. What if
It's not a bug, it's a feature.
you don't need your skin when you come out of the ride, do you? That's kind of just like, you don't need it, really.
So
You
here's
come
the
out of the
thing.
womb with skin and you expect to get out of the ride with skin? You
Yeah.
think you're entitled to your skin?
So here's the thing, Gene. I got a great idea for like a haunted house, kind of like Disney. But you see, it's going to be a little more of a rise. Like, yeah, let's actually conjure demons before we go in, okay? Blood seance and, cut some goat and just bleed it onto the floor, draw symbols everywhere, and then you start the ride.
And here's a book bound in human flesh. Just read something.
Anything.
Anything out of this book.
No, that would involve people actually reading and having knowledge of what they were designing, which definitely wasn't the case. As far as I could tell, none of these rides were designed by professionals or people
a
with
human.
Oh, really?
Anyone with knowledge of basic engineering or gravity. I won't even say physics. I'll say just basic knowledge of gravity. Which makes sense considering Eugene's tendency to save money and try and con customers out of their money. If he hired a professional, he'd have to pay them. And we can't have that.
No.
Speaking of professionals, his staff were certainly the opposite. He primarily hired teenagers to run the rides, which isn't too bad on its own. You go to a state park, they're usually on the younger side, that all. But since this is a libertarian paradise, there were no rules at all, which meant that the employees could go get a drink or 10 from any one of the stalls selling alcohol. Chances were high that the 14-year-old employee you were expecting to keep you safe on the ride was probably drunk, high, and or tripping on acid. There was even a microbrewery constructed in Motor World, right next to the super go-karts, which I'll explain in a moment, where Eugene actually flew in a brewer from Germany to brew the beer.
That's bullshit.
No, that is true, which I found absolutely fascinating.
I thought the whole microbrew is bullshit.
No, that whole thing is true. He literally flew in a German brewer and his equipment to brew beer on the premises.
So we're going to skimp on the safety measures to pay the Germans.
Apparently fucking so.
The beer is gold. This is my ticket out of this joint.
Get them drunk. They won't notice that they broke their coccyx.
I mean, you're not wrong. There was also apparently an abandoned shed somewhere on the premises where employees would go to avoid their superiors and also have gratuitous amounts of sex.
That's
What's
more than
gratuitous?
once a week for Michael.
It's more than once. Anyway, back in those days.
This does make sense considering that I have been given Uncle Gene the Harvey Weinstein voice. So I mean,
ooh.
All this starts to make sense.
As far as I'm aware, there is no allegations against him about that sort of thing.
From people that are still alive.
From people that are still alive, sure. But as far as I had read, he had a loving, caring wife, and that was the only person that he did anything with.
Hey, Jesse, you want to go down to the shed with me and check
He had
out some equipment?
he had a piss fetish for sure.
If he did, he took it to his grave. That's all I'll say.
Like the riders on the Alpine drop.
Oh, so speaking of that ride, back in those days with people that designed the rides with little to no knowledge of anything involving ride construction, the best way to test those rides was either with test dummies or with actual humans.
Or testosterone.
Employees would get paid a crisp $100 bill to test out new rides before they were open to the public. And
they're like, hey, so if we do this, it's $100 and health insurance. He's like, yeah, it's $100.
Yeah, it's $100. Yeah. Surprisingly, no one died that way.
That is surprising.
Can I call bullshit on that?
As far as I had read, there were no employee deaths from that.
No test deaths.
Wait. I feel like you're holding out. There, at least someone got disabled after.
Speaking of deaths.
How many times are you going to say speaking of in this episode?
Ooh.
I had to...
He's having
that comes later.
A case of the, actually.
I had to overhaul a lot of this because I said... I read a paragraph and there were 3 times that I said also, and then one time that I said speaking of, and then also well actually, and so I'm like I can't do that the whole time.
Fair.
Can you guess when the first death happened in this park?
2 days after it opened.
Yeah.
You guys are you're not giving him enough credit.
2 months.
5 minutes.
2 years, actually, after the park opened. Yes.
Reportedly.
At the That's fair. There was a weird story I read on one article that said that there were some people that showed up late at night, rode the Alpine Slide, and their friend crashed, and they never found his body.
Got killed by a Sasquatch in the hills.
Yeah, the article couldn't confirm that, so I'm not going to confirm it. But the first confirmed death happened 2 years after the park opened in 1980 on the Alpine Slide. 19-year-old George Larson Jr., which was the only real name that I had gotten. Half of the deaths that I found didn't actually have names, which I thought was odd. But 19-year-old George Larson Jr. was riding the Alpine Slide when a malfunction caused his cart to come off the cement track. He was thrown off and his head landed on a rock, putting him into a coma, and he died 8 days later.
Huh.
To avoid reporting it to the state, good old Uncle Gene listed George as an employee. Because apparently you don't have to report employee deaths to the state of New Jersey in the 80s.
That's how the mafia survived for so long.
I mean, you say
So,
that, but
I didn't write this in the report, or in a report, whatever. Fuck.
My God,
in the
Michael.
episode, but there was one article that mentioned that he might have had ties to the mafia. So there's that. So you mentioned the mafia, and that's all I'll say, because I couldn't confirm it, and I already had 6 pages of information. I didn't want to write about the yeah.
So you don't need to test this ride. It's fine. This is fine
Exactly.
how it is.
job.
So he did report George as an employee, which meant that he didn't have to report the death for some reason, which wasn't true. He had worked at the ski resort the year prior, but not at Action Park, and he had never had. So that was a oopsie daisy on their part. But instead of just talking about the deaths, I'd rather talk about the rides and the fun, exciting times that came from these choice picks.
Are you
I'll
on
say.
Eugene's payroll?
I wish.
Well, Shane, you know that 99% of people survive this park.
That was actually an argument that they said. They had they would usually get about 1 million people every year at their park, with some weekends trending over 12,000 people. And they said, and I'll just state for the record, there were 6 confirmed deaths at this park from when it ran from 78 to 96. And they said, it's negligible. It's statistically, very, very small. So it's fine, right?
Hey, listen, you won't walk away from this park, but you only die once.
Yeah, exactly. You won't die. You might not be able to walk again, but you won't die.
Yodo.
So-
Stop being selfish with your legs.
Yeah. So, the Kayak Experience is the first ride that I'll talk about. The Kayak Experience featured people riding kayaks down Whitewater Rapids.
You don't fucking say.
Yeah, exactly. It's fairly obvious. It was a short ride, so people would usually run each other over, just like in the Alpine Slide.
I'm sensing a theme.
People would get
Yes.
stuck at little rapids, little whirlpools, and then other people would just run right over them. The Whitewater Rapids were generated by underwater fans, where some of the wires would run underwater as well. And you can kind of see where this is going. This ride was very, very short-lived. In 1982, a 27-year-old man fell out of his kayak, and while trying to right his kayak and get back in, he stepped on an exposed wire, giving him a severe electric shock and sending him into cardiac arrest. He was pronounced dead at the hospital.
He also killed the 3 snakes that were trying to bite him at the time as well.
No, there were no snakes at this ride.
No, that's the
Allegedly.
Indiana Jones
Allegedly.
ride.
That-
That's different.
Is it bullshit, the wire?
Nope, that was true. The park claimed it was a natural heart attack and not induced by the electrical shock, as
Is
the
what happened
man...
either way.
Exactly. The man had no burn marks, they claimed.
So you're saying Heidnik is the one who designed
That's what
this
I
ride.
was thinking.
Exactly. The coroner who examined his body claimed to differ, as the man had a giant burn mark that ran from his left foot, up his leg, through the center of his chest, and out his right arm.
He was like that way when we bought the house.
Exactly.
laying
So-
there in the bottom of the lake there.
Yeah, on the floor there.
He came with the frame.
Yes. The death led GAR, because I just love the
You
acronym
do
for
indeed, yes.
it. It led GAR to close the ride that year, and it never reopened. They actually drained the whole thing, and they just never reused it, which was
Bullshit.
nice. No, they did actually close the ride.
Drain the swamp.
The next ride is called the Tarzan Swing, a basic rope to swing into a pond. You know,
Wow.
it's pretty simple.
What's an
You s-
upgraded rope?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they
It's
enforced
got
it.
handholds.
You swing from the rope and let go to fall into the water, which was important to note because some people didn't, and so they would crash into the platform that they leapt off of. So
They got
Yeah.
confused. Instead of Tarzan, they thought George of the Jungle.
good reference.
Very nice.
I get it. I get it.
Is that ambulance inbound, please?
Yeah, I'm
Because
gonna have a
my
stroke.
my ticker can't take it.
And not the good kind.
Speaking of, no, some people perform stunts for those waiting in line because, as some former employees mentioned, it was a 3-hour wait to get on this swing. Yes, not bullshit. Apparently, it was a 3-hour wait, and that line would wind in front of the pond, so people would be able to watch people swinging in. And so, when you have an audience, you got to put on a show. So the rope was high enough off the water for people to do tricks going into the water, such as, moon the audience or flash them or do obscene gestures, that sort of thing.
It's not
Keep
a
in
trick
mind-
so much as being an asshole.
Or showing one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well.
Keep in mind that the main clientele were teenagers. So
Yeah, this is the old-fashioned pitch that your parents gave you. Is, if everybody else was lining up to die, would you too, you little lemming? Yes, absolutely. Apparently they would.
Gimme.
I did read a person that was reminiscing about the old times had pretty much mentioned that this was the place where tri-state area boys went to be turned into men, and that it was terrible, that it was closed
Gross.
at the time he was interviewed, and so kids these days couldn't man up of sorts and get adjusted to life, where you get the skin rubbed off of you on concrete and
Uncle
you
Gene.
could potentially die. Uncle Gene, no.
I went to Uncle Gene, and I'm now a man.
And he
Uh,
became a man.
The swing itself was fine, provided you let go on time. But the danger came from the water. It came from no, surprisingly not. It was not snakes. It was actually the water came from river runoff.
Oh.
So
That
hippos.
was so hard
So
to
shit
fucking
water?
say. No,
River
so
one.
it was extremely cold. It averaged, even in the summer months, between 50 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit. So freezing.
Michael, you can't die from shrinkage. You're living proof.
No, you can't die from shrinkage. Lifeguards were on standby to quickly jump in to save people who were not prepared for the cold and were so put into shock that they forgot how to swim, which does happen. In 1984, a man suffered a fatal heart attack shortly after plunging
Another
into the
heart
cold
attack.
water. Yes.
Natural causes.
Yeah.
He was a popsicle when he got here.
It came with the frame.
Just the shock of having so much fun put him into cardiac
He
arrest.
had
We
so
are
much
not
sex with the
responsible.
teenagers over in that shed that his heart just couldn't hang in.
My ticker. Sorry, that was bad. Oh, my ticker.
He said, "Be still, my
Keep
beating
saying
heart,"
it.
and then it was.
Apparently, that was not enough to close the ride, and it still remained open. I don't know how, but they didn't close it like
Yeah.
the kayak experience.
It was rechristened the Ice Bucket Challenge.
True. So, those multiple lane slides at state parks where people could race down, where they're not water slides per se, but like
Freeways?
you can. Yes, yeah, exactly, yeah. They had one of those called Surf Hill, where instead of just sliding down like a normal slide, it was water and you'd be surfing down. Except for the barriers that they had that separated each lane were so small and so low that people would constantly hop over into other people's lanes and collide with each other. There was a particular lane, the 7th lane, that they called the backbreaker, which was particularly dangerous as it would send people flying into the water at the bottom at speeds so fast that it would tear their swimsuits off. So, in response, considering Uncle Gene here, what do you think he did about that?
Put in a camera.
Let's sell him an extra swimsuit.
He did more than put in a camera. He actually built a grandstand for people to sit and watch as people were flung into the water and had their bikini tops ripped off.
Okay.
Yes.
But what about Bikini Bottom?
They occasionally ripped off, but I think people were more interested at the top. That's
Bobs.
at least the vibes that I got from the people reminiscing about the good old
Okay,
days.
so there's not a lot of ass men in New Jersey. Here we go.
Yes. The next ride, the super go-karts that I mentioned earlier. They were simply go-karts, and by themselves, they weren't that much of a problem, except where they were located. They were located right next to the microbrewery, so customers and employees alike would get blitzed out of their mind and then try and drive those. Head-on collisions were frequent, and sometimes the go-karts would suffer engine problems, causing customers to inhale large amounts of gasoline fumes. The go-karts would go about 20 miles per hour normally, and so it wasn't too dangerous compared to the other rides. Though the fun times were when the park closed. Employees would break into the brewery and steal kegs of beer, get plastered, then drive the carts, placing tennis balls in the speed regulator of the engine. By putting the tennis balls in such a way, it would override the speed regulator, and they would be able to get upwards of 50 miles an hour. They would then go drive on the nearby interstate route that was right there, and they would drive all hours of the night. According to one former employee, there were only 3 cops in the town of Vernon, which was located right next to the water park or the action park. And so they would just drive on the freeways, incredibly plastered on go-karts. They would eventually wreck them and then go sober up in the water park until sun rose, and then they would do it again.
Well, we're missing the salient point of the outrage that must have been endured by Hans Schmegma, the German brewer, when he would show up and discover that they had stolen all of his brew in the night. What would they do with my brew?
I thought it was weird that former employees said that they would break into the microbrewery, but I didn't read anything of apparently they could just go in there at will and take kegs. I didn't read anything about there being retribution or there being losses because of beers being stolen or any of that. Apparently they could just go in, take kegs, just do whatever they want. Kids will be kids. Am I right?
Angry Man and Lederhosen just chasing them down the walk. Why did you steal my brews?
He's running on the freeway, a giant stein in one hand.
9.
Let's see. I mentioned the super speedboats where they raced in a pond that was infested with snakes. Okay, the second to last ride I'll cover is the tidal wave pool, nicknamed the Grave Pool, for reasons that will be obvious in a moment.
The kids are back in the wave pool again.
A massive wave pool, it held between 500 and 1,000 people at once. The waves themselves could reach about 3.5 feet high above the water level and would go nonstop for 20 minutes, before stopping for about 10. Once the waves stopped, lifeguards would clear various sections of the pool to search for people just floating there. I did read that. That is a thing.
I'm a fisher of men.
Whoa.
There were 12 lifeguards on duty at any given time, and on average, the lifeguards would save about 10 people per day.
And they were fucked.
Yeah. If you were saved from drowning, Clark
Michael Clark.
Clark employees.
Clark. I am Michael Clark. park employees would give you a wristband to wear with the initials CFS, which was short for can't fucking swim.
No.
To alert all other people if they got onto another water ride, employees would know this person couldn't fucking swim.
Yeah, you cannot be incredulous about anything that good old Uncle Gene might allow to be implemented at his park.
Uncle Gene didn't care as long as they were pulling people out and no one was dying.
As long as I
Didn't
got
matter to
someone to
him.
mouthfuck over here behind the brewery, I'm a happy camper.
In all, half of the total deaths in the park came from the wave pool, which brings the total of deaths in the whole park to 6. So out of the 18 years this park was operated, only 6 people died.
So you're saying that 90% of the deaths can be attributed to the wave pool and the Alpine Slide?
If the math
Didn't
checks
you say
out,
it was
yes.
like 40% of the people died on the...
No, 40% of the injuries, not 40% of the deaths.
Ah.
Only one
didn't
person died on the
realize.
slide. One person died on the slide. One person died.
When did you turn into Johnny Cochran? One person died
That's
on the
what
slide.
they reported to me. They said 40% people were injured on the slide, but only one person died.
If
so,
the glove does not fit, you must acquit. One person died on the slide.
yeah, so it's fine. That's that's within error. It's
Why
okay.
won't you slide?
Thousands upon thousands of people rode that slide in a summer, and only one person died once.
It's
so,
fine. You don't die on the slide.
Yeah, exactly. You're fine. You might not be able to, have skin on your arms or dislocate your joints or break your bones or not be able to walk or anything like that. Or
God help you if you like polyester.
one kid had to have brain surgery from what I read, but he didn't die, which is all that matters. A 15-year-old drowned in 1982, a week before the man electrocuted himself on the kayak experience. So that was a particularly bad, couple of weeks for people.
I just can't fucking get anything right.
By the way,
can you imagine that 14-year-old oh geez, it's my first day, time to work on the wave pool,
And I'm
then
dead.
pull out a dead person's all right, well, you know what? I'll go on the kayak experience. That shouldn't be bad.
so for everybody who is against governmental regulations on businesses, you're from fucking New Jersey, apparently. So congratulations.
This is the libertarian paradise, man.
Yeah, so is a graveyard, you dumb fuck.
I read in several different articles that there was one summer where there were, I think, 144 accidents that required hospital visits over the course of a summer, including a couple dozen concussions and, people getting their bones broken or dislocated, suffering permanent nerve damage,
Small things.
etc.
I mean,
Yeah.
they've got numbers like a police department. My God.
Damn.
Big oof.
You don't die on the slide. You don't die on the slide.
You don't die on the slide. You might not have skin, but you don't die on the slide.
You never die on the slide.
You don't die from mace in the face. Now, if by the mispulled taser, you definitely do go down, though. I'm sorry
I
to say.
swear that was a taser. It's changed into a gun in my hands. I just don't know what a taser and a gun is. Been in the department 20 years, but you switch them. I had an off morning. I thought my gun was my taser.
All I know is you don't die on the slide.
A 20-year-old died in 1984, and the last death occurred in 1987 with an 18-year-old. Another thing to note that I want to say real quick is that the park did not need to regulate the wave pool as much because the state classified it as a pool and not a ride. And according to those regulations, all the park had to do was keep the water clean and have lifeguards on duty.
Wow.
The lifeguards don't have to do anything. They can just sit there looking pretty.
Hey, no, they did stuff. They rescued 10 people a day. They had to draw straws all right, this is your section. There's a person floating face down. You get him. I got the last guy. The last ride that I'll mention is my favorite, called the Cannonball Loop.
I thought it was going to be the slippery dick.
Close enough. It's the first ride I saw while doing research on the park, and it was one of the first rides customers would see upon arriving to the park. The Cannonball Loop was open for a single month in the summer of 1985 before the New Jersey Advisory Board on Carnival Amusement Ride Safety ordered its closure. So they actually did something this time.
Bullshit.
No, they did something this time. They're like, all right, you can have people drown in the wave pool. You can have people electrocute themselves on the kayak experience, but this
Snakes.
This loop is it's oh yeah, the snakes, yeah, I didn't even know about that.
That's a fish and game problem. That's not us.
Yeah, that's the other department. You got to contact them. This is too much. You got to close it down. Sorry. It was an enclosed water slide that ended in a vertical loop, like a roller coaster.
Oh no.
God.
Honestly, and I'll show you guys a picture of it afterwards, because it's literally just a nice gentle slope, and then it ends in like a 20-30 foot long, tall loop.
Oh,
and then it just goes out into like water, and that's it. Like, you look at that and you're like, I don't know shit about physics, but even I know that that's not gonna work.
I didn't rig shit.
But I know that ain't gonna work.
I didn't do shit.
Before offering employees a chance to ride it for $100, they sent a test dummy down it. Just make sure.
He was fine.
It came out decapitated.
Bullshit.
It did. With its head stuck on stills. It didn't come out with its head. It was just gone. The head was stuck on the top part of the loop. It just remained there.
Hey, it's fine. No one's going to make it to the top part of the loop anyway.
Yeah.
Nobody dies on the slide.
They die in the wave pool. If you want to die, go to the wave pool. Otherwise, you can ride this all you want. In the month it was opened, a rider got stuck at the top of the loop, just like the head, which prompted a latch to be installed there to rescue future riders. Yes, true. They installed a hatch so that they can rescue people in the event that they were stuck up there. A rubber mat was added to part of the loop as riders kept slamming their faces into that part of the tube, which helped lessen the concussions. However, before the ride closed, riders kept exiting the ride with mysterious scratches all over their bodies. And it was later found that they were getting scratched by teeth that were embedded in the rubber mat.
I just thought that Uncle Gene just threw a tarp over himself in position strategically at certain points of the ride. You just roll over like, ooh.
Ooh, itchy. I had that scratch, but now it's itched. I'm good.
I got concussed by Uncle Gene.
And I'm not even covering all the rides that have various bodily injuries. They had a skydiving simulator one where they would just shoot a giant fan at you and you would actually hover for a bit. They didn't tell people how to land correctly, so when they turned off the fan, they would instinctively put their arms out, which would dislocate and cause permanent nerve damage in their arms. And I didn't even mention the other water slides that they had. There was one that they designed that I didn't get a lot of information on, where they would have 90-degree turns. So instead of, nice turns where, you feel like you're getting jostled around, no, it would be an abrupt, left. And people would slam their faces into it, understandably, and they'd come out with broken bones and everything. They look like mangled messes. And people would watch that. There was actually a crowd of people that would always gather to watch people coming out of the Cannonball ride just to see how they would come out. Because people just like watching misery. One article that I read referenced it to people watching a car wreck happen in real time.
Oh.
Yeah,
you just can't look away.
Bunch of rubberneckers.
I guess what we've learned relative to Eugene is talented, no doubt, though you may be in the stock market. From time to time, adult supervision is required.
As long as you don't die on the slide, that's all that matters.
I feel like
you slide and you died.
None of the people at this park had any survival skills. They were just bashing their faces and heads put your hand out. What are you doing?
Well,
teenagers.
One article I read said that this was the time before helicopter parenting.
Yeah,
when
this
kids
is also
could be kids.
It's a park by kids for kids. Sadly.
And those kids that got roughed up on these rides, they want to grow up to be big, sopping bags of shit.
So it's Congress?
Yeah.
Mitch McConnell was the biggest supporter of this.
Is that why he
love
looks
the
like
cannonball
that?
ride.
Yeah, his neck's been dislocated so many times, there's no bone there anymore. It's just dangling flesh.
His
That's-
neck melted on the Alpine Slide. It makes so much sense now.
I want to go back on the cannonball.
Bring
Listen.
back the cannonball. We don't need no government types. I started getting into Nixon. I don't need no government types.
Who keeps
Tell me
letting
what
them-
I cannot slide on.
Why are we letting the turtleneck kid back on the slide again? Like we told him we can't.
I'm a turtle.
I like turtles.
I slide real good.
My neck flaps just provide the cushiony support that I need.
The penguin is my spirit animal. I want to slide.
It's awful. I love it.
One advertisement that I had read about said that the Alpine Slide, for reference, was safe enough for a 90-year-old grandmother and her grandchild to slide down. A lot of the commercials that they aired were pretty hokey in that they pretty much interviewed people that just got off of rides, and you can kind of tell because they looked a little beaten up and they looked like worse for the wear, but they were like, that was fucking awesome, but in more better speak.
I
That
just
was
feel
the gray slide of my life. I love it. People should come here.
the
On
Alpine
me.
Slide sounds like a swinger's house or a condo in Colorado.
Does.
Like everybody went down to the Alpine Slide. It's the love shack of the West Coast.
So you'd think that with all these injuries, no one would insure the park, right? Like typically when these parks have insurance companies, right? Well, there was one person who insured the park, and it was Eugene himself. He created a phony insurance company called London and World Assurance, Inc., based out of the Cayman Islands.
Oh.
Yes.
You
He
killed
was
her.
only indicted once for insurance fraud, and that was in 1984, and it did not slow him down one bit. If you thought no one sued him for damages, you were sorely mistaken. However, since, as we mentioned in previous episodes, the justice system is perfect in every way, once someone sued him, he'd immediately take them to court. He'd never set out of court, using his team of lawyers to slow the case down to a standstill. Because at that point, the injured party would usually give up, owing to the building debt that they incurred while having a team of lawyers.
What did they charge to get into this park? Do you know?
Oh, I couldn't remember
Because
off the top of my head.
I don't know how you would amass the untold sums of cash required to keep attorneys just constantly on retainer, particularly when you have death or dismemberment in the park multiple times a day.
Well, most of those deaths, they ruled. Well, they didn't rule outright, but he was able
it's
to
park
not
employees.
get legislation. Yeah, it was a park employee. He didn't suffer a heart attack because he got electrocuted.
Right.
That was natural.
And, of course, they're employing teenagers, so then you can pay them ridiculous wages because they're just getting plastered. So whatever loss you're
Exactly.
incurring is just making up for the fact that you're hiring untrained individuals.
And they catered to people that lived in urban areas, so they were more low income. They actually created a line of Spanish language commercials so they could cater to people that only spoke Spanish. And there were a couple of times that I had read in these articles where these employees, these lifeguards, weren't able to tell like these people anything because they didn't understand a lick of English. So they would be like, everyone would come from these lower, they couldn't afford to go to Six Flags. They couldn't go to these higher end amusement parks. So they'd go to this local one. Yeah, it was a little bit more dangerous, but it beats sitting around in your house doing nothing,
It doesn't beat being in traction for 6 months.
Well, when you're 14 and full of testosterone or whatever you want, like, you don't care. You're like, oh, it won't happen to me. I'm invincible. I won't die. And yeah,
You get on the slide.
yeah.
And you don't.
And you don't.
So I mentioned that Action Park did close, and it wasn't because of the lawsuits. It wasn't because of the deaths. It was actually because a recession occurred in the early 90s. That was it. That was what brought them down. Not all these other things, not legislation, not any
Too
of
tough
that.
to die until a recession.
Exactly.
So it wasn't rodent intrusion or anything like you'd expect.
Nope.
The snake didn't shut them down.
Nope. only bankruptcy. They declared bankruptcy in 95, and Action Park last opened their doors the next summer after that. So their last actual operating season was in 96.
Can I go bullshit on the bankruptcy?
Nope, they declared bankruptcy in 95, yeah. Except
can't.
for, the park wasn't closed for long. Because someone else, a Canadian resort developer called Intrawest, sorry, I can't read, revamped Waterworld, demolished Motorworld and Alpine Center, and reopened it under the name Mountain Creek Water Park. And that remained open until 2010, when Intrawest, or I wrote Interest in one and Infrawest, whatever, a Canadian development company. Infrarest or Intrarest.
The new Infrarest system will support your lower lumbar and allow you for hours of undisturbed sleep.
Yeah. They went bankrupt. And so it was purchased by none other than Uncle Gene and his family in 2010.
Stop the damn match. The man has a family.
Well, he did have a family until he died in 2012.
What a bitch.
Boo.
The park opened and is still open to this day. It is still open. I actually utilized the actual park website. Actually.
So
Speaking
far.
of the website also. Yes, it is still open to this day. It was, though, according to the article, they mentioned that they renamed it Action Park, but according to the website, they are still Mountain Creek Water Park. So
and it's just the water
I don't
park.
know. Yes, it's just the water
All
park.
right.
The Motor World, which was across the Route 94, was actually redeveloped. It's now some condominiums and some other things yeah. But,
well, they are fond of water sports in New Jersey.
So I've heard.
Yeah, I've seen a Springsteen concert. Hey, Bon Jovi is slippery when wet, so we've proven this out.
Oh.
yes. So, unfortunately, Uncle Gene did not get to see it reopen as he died 2 years prior to it opening in 2012 at the ripe old age of 78. Today, though, the park follows strict regulations as it should, and as far as I could read, no one has died in this new age of Mountain Creek Water Park. So, there you go.
How many injuries have taken place?
That I could not find either. So I'm going off the assumption of nothing. It is a brilliant and glorious park, and we're actually sponsored today by Mountain Creek Water Park. If you're in the the great state of New Jersey, which is a beautiful and amazing state, no matter what anyone says, you should go to Vernon, the city of Vernon, and visit Mountain Creek Water Park. It is a glorious place. I know I went there and I had fun on Surf City, though I was kicked out because I mooned a couple of passersby when I was going down. But yes, I recommend it. 5 out of 5 stars.
Let me just state for the record, one, I never want you to be the host of an infomercial. Ever.
Yeah, you put me to sleep.
And furthermore, the views of Michael do not reflect the views of the Disinformed podcast or any of its associate subsidiaries.
Right.
Disinformed Incorporated disavows anything Michael says in most instances.
Disinformed Incorporated, LLC, all those other fun.
Still safer than Gene's bullshit.
Oh, for sure.
All right. Any stabs on lies?
No. Did they sell T-shirts that said, I broke my goddamn collarbone and all I got was drunk on Uncle Gene's booze?
I broke my collarbone and I sure as hell don't remember it at Action Park, 87.
Action Park. There's people's teeth on me.
My memories are concrete. We've cemented our legacy. Action Park.
Courtney, you got anything?
Action Park. Lord of the Flies with water slides.
I did see things that mentioned it's Lord of the Flies, but it's a water park. Yes, I did see that. I did mention that in several articles.
God.
Action Park, where the fun never dies. At least not on the slide.
Action Park, you stay alive forever.
We're all invincible, and it's a miracle.
It's Neverland,
Action
but a water park.
Action Park, you're dying to work here.
That's my favorite.
So, my lies. You got the pump and dump scam.
Well,
Sorry, I just got another one where it's boozes and bruises.
Wait, what?
Boozes and bruises.
There you go. Yeah, so I already mentioned pump and dump is a lie. I even wrote aside from a one-night stand. I don't know why I wrote that.
It isn't so.
Yes, it is. Michael's relationship history.
Oof.
My life.
Why am I getting pegged by all my girlfriends?
I'm gonna go on that concrete. Well, never mind. Second lie. Eugene did not get a bachelor's in physics.
Right.
Third lie, that you could not get all the action you want in Action Park. Fourth lie, he did not sell it to investors as the Libertarian paradise. There's no record of him saying that. I don't think contemporaries refer to it as that.
I don't think libertarianism was really that popular in the 70s either.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The way that we use that term, no. Let's see here. Oh, yes. The man that died of a heart attack induced by getting electrocuted, they said that there were no burn marks. They were right. There were no burn marks at all on the man. But the coroner said that happens in water, in water-based electrocutions.
Like water trauma.
Yes.
I like that the way that you said that, you sounded like a South African pirate.
Yar?
They said there was no burn marks on the man. No burn marks at all. Could not find them.
Look at me. I am the captain now.
That's not South African.
I would watch the shit out of the show where you try and be other characters.
God.
In infamous scenes.
Michael doesn't have a personality on its own, so like he can't adopt other people's.
True.
See how close he can fly to the sun.
Tell me where Somalia is, by the way.
Oh, it's off of the Horn of Africa, which is
Okay, this is
Eastern
not
Africa.
anywhere near the South, by the
No.
way. So yeah,
That's like saying, Delaware. That's close to Florida, right? That's
You lost
because
me.
it's on the same continent.
Eastern.
Yeah, so I mean, relatively speaking, yeah.
Is your
Nailed
lie
it.
located on one of those places, or
No. So I mentioned the burn.
Let's
mentioned
actually
that-
let's talk for another 20 minutes because John seems like he's got shit he wants to do. And I
Oh
wanna
no, don't worry.
fuck
I'm
up
still
his
gonna ask.
plans.
We're at
hope
an
there's
hour
an
and 30
epilogue.
minutes. No, there is an epilogue. I am asking how you all are doing because
Cool.
that's what I
Good.
always do.
We need
Yes,
to.
yes.
Actually, I feel really bad because there was no burn marks on the man.
The grave pool, in the grave pool, lifeguards did not save 10 people a day. They saved about 30.
oh, Jesus!
Yeah. I had originally heard that each lifeguard saved about 30 people a day, but I could not confirm that or reconfirm that. All I read, what I had read was that there was on average, there's the stroking. I'm stroking,
Please don't.
but it's not on the slide, so it's fine. On average, on an average day, lifeguards would save about 30 people from drowning, not 10.
Okay.
In the Cannonball Loop, for the last lie, the head was not stuck on the top part of the loop. The dummy was decapitated, as I mentioned.
And thick.
Very.
Dummy thick.
We're talking dummy. Like you could you're putting your ear to the end of the Cannonball Loop. You can hear its ass cheeks just clapping.
I was going to say,
all the way
it
down.
sounded like the opening of Raiders of the Lost Ark. Just a boulder rolling down as those cheeks just clapping.
So silly.
The head came out with the body. That's. But I just found
it was
it
holding it.
Yes, it was like, look at what happened to my head. Yes. So
Okay.
And the teeth
those are my lies.
was
The
their
teeth
money.
was all truths. All trues. All true trues. All true
yes.
trues. The new true trues.
Come on, get the new true at the Disinformed podcast.
The new true trues.
Come get concussed with us.
News. The Disinformed new true
Courtney's
trues.
dying to work here.
As long as it's not on the slide, it's fine. But yeah, that was my the Libertarian paradise of Action Park.
Libertarian?
I feel like that was a really nice
Libertarian
palate cleanser from all the
It was a palate cleanser?
Yeah, no trigger
People
warning. Michael's
died.
like, dead person, dead person, dead person, dead person.
I kept, as I was writing, I thought it was incredibly hilarious. I was like, and this person died. They were violently electrocuted. And then people slid down the slide and their swimsuits would be torn off and they would flash people.
Dumb people dying in dumb ways is
Oof.
great.
Hot take there.
So John is coming out in endorsement of sex work.
If it doesn't hurt anybody, and
As long as they don't die on the slide.
as long as it's not on the slide.
Take that as you will.
All right. I'm going to let you decide whether you want to leave that in.
I'll leave that in. That's in.
Okay.
Just like the slide.
So, relative to sex work, as long as you don't die on the slide.
He got a heart attack. It must have been from the cold water.
I had a hard attack, but...
Oh, man.
So, how's everyone tonight?
You really love that fucking bit.
I don't know why. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid it works for me.
I'm really excited about a continuing series of photos that we get in our group chat. That's how I'm doing. I like the Michael Smiles photos that Courtney sends on Monday nights.
Well, at least it's not covered in beard, like disgusting unkept beard anymore. I finally got it cut and I got tired of it.
You look good.
So thank you.
You're welcome. What was up with your coworker? Is too high to function?
Oh, he was too high to function. He went out for a break, came back, and he's like, I want to make a calzone, but I just want pineapple and cinnamon in it. I'm like, okay. He's like, how do I do that? I'm like, the pineapple's right there.
First,
like,
join Synanon.
And he proceeded to make a large calzone with nothing in it but pineapple, and then he put cinnamon on it when it came out.
Shane's favorite things.
I don't understand. He'd even put cheese in it. I was like, well,
thank
are
Christ.
you putting anything else in it? And he's like, no,
yeah, you
why
know
would
how Shane
I?
feels about cheese and pineapple. So
I just didn't understand. Like, he didn't do anything to it. He even was like, why is there a little bit of cheddar in the pineapple? I'm like, a piece of cheddar fell in because the cheddar's right next to the pineapple. Sorry.
Michael, you work at Hungry Howie's. If you expect anything to make sense, you have misapplied your use of logic.
But I heard that he's a king.
What? I'm a king.
I heard Michael is a king.
Yeah, he's big man on
Hungry
campus
Howie's.
over there at Howie's.
Ugh.
What? How?
Mr. Popular.
Why? I mean,
Everyone's
they
looking
tolerate
to
me
you.
because I've been there for 8 years.
They also love him because he keeps doing food swaps with everybody as opposed to actually selling merchandise.
My manager did say after you called Courtney that if you were bringing beer for me, that I had to let you know to bring beer for him as well. So, and I was like, shit, I forgot to tell her. He's like, oh, okay.
I'll bring him
Well-
one next time.
You'll scare the fuck out of me. Like, what the fuck? It'll be great.
Language.
Oh, sorry. This is not meant for kids. I don't think we've mentioned that on the actual podcast.
Yeah, this isn't
itself
Uncle
for
Gene's
YouTube.
paradise over here.
You mean Uncle Gene's puzzle basement?
Oh, I did forget to mention that his son is actually part of the ownership for the park nowadays.
Oh,
And
I'm glad it
that-
stayed in the family.
Which part?
Yeah, exactly. The
crotch?
The park. The
Just
park,
the
not
shed,
crotch park.
actually.
He runs the shed. He just stands outside and takes money from people and goes in with them.
It's
For $100, I'll let you test out the shed.
Hey, welcome to Uncle Gene's Shedhead.
He won't die because it's not the slide.
You won't die on the slide. Well, you lied and they slide, I guess. But I am happy to impart that we are finally getting to a stage where I believe we are going to be the embodiment of, at least one of the things that Michael hoped for starting this podcast. Is we are going to have some forum that allows our listeners to interact with us and each other. Because Michael was auditing a conversation that I was having with superfan Michael earlier, and was so completely caught off guard by some of the subject matter that was being imparted that he's like, I have to check this and read.
What?
Because I get notifications whenever anyone messages the Disinformed
Facebook,
Facebook. So it was like I just saw his responses talking about virgin blood and holding, like, being an ace and all these other things, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I have to read this now because I'm just sitting there minding my own business, and I just see at least they didn't drown in like virgin blood or something, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Indeed.
That's a take. Yeah.
So again, yes, I'm doing my level best to try to keep engaged with our audience and have fun conversations and get ideas. And so now that might have to spill into an open forum. So we'll expect that there will likely be a Disinformed fan page on Facebooks for the 87-year-olds amongst us so that we can all sit and have conversations with one another.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Because you have to figure out why there is a young woman that he used to date who had a tramp stamp of her own name.
I read that. I was like,
it's so that she never got lost.
He said her response to this was that she wanted you to have a prompt so that you knew what name to moan.
Remember my name.
At which point I was like, if you really had like a sexual teleprompter requirement for that woman, I don't think the experience was that great. If you forget her name to put in the comment card, you might need to get better services.
You remember me, don't you? From the times that we were the times?
It's on my back. You saw my back, right?
Remember?
How many times did you go on the slide?
And you survived?
I can't remember much of anything now.
The concrete took out that part of my brain.
Apparently. But in any event, yes, thank you, Superfan Michael, for all the glorious ideas, and then I will get to have everybody crossbreed, because I'm sure Superfan Steven has got plenty of content and discussion that we can get.
So we need a Disinformed Discord?
Exactly.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not hip. I'm not that hip. I broke that on the slide.
There it is. Did you hear that? Courtney, did you hear that?
That was the sound of a joke dying.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
the phone shattered.
Zippity zoop, we're out of here.
I wish that would just be the end. I just cut it there.
I wouldn't blame you. And speaking of cutting,
I'll
let that linger just for a second. And
hey! I'm stuck on the slide. My cart ran out of batteries. Can someone push me somewhere else?
If you're
stranded, I hate this part. It's out.
If you're stranded at a Circle K and your battery is dead on your electrified wheelchair, then we've got some social networks that you can go peruse in the link tree in the show notes. Go check us out there.
I need to charge my fucking scooter.
We'll help you pass the time as you're waiting for someone to wheel you out of traffic. It's going to be a good time for everybody. Or you can just get the bumper car treatment like Uncle Gene's favorite friends. And we won't have to worry about you. But please, like and subscribe wherever you can. Follow us wherever it's possible. Because all the places where disreputable content is allowed, including OnlyFans, we is there. But also, occasionally on the Tubes of You, we have glorious content winging your way. Usually on Wednesdays, because that is our designated day when we have content. And we have for the past 2 weeks, in case you are unaware, blissfully or otherwise. And it was a lot of fun. I have had grand feedback based on, Crispy Duncan's ribald tales of what she would do with that dank.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it immensely. So, and my new porn name is still Duncan D's Nuts, so gonna enjoy that while it lasts. So,
my eager mouth.
Everybody enjoy and engage. We, really appreciate having you all out there paying attention. And, of course, rate and review, because we would love to hear from you. And I think that is going to officially wrap us up like a wave cresting over our drowning heads. So, for Disinformed this week, I'm Shane.
I'm John.
I'm Michael.
I'm Courtney.
And John's still checking his fucking watch, so I'm sorry. We're not gonna log off. We're gonna check. We're gonna hold out for another 5 minutes. Let's hang out.
All right,
So
here,
instead of how everyone's doing right now, how's everyone's week been? Like, it's been a while since we
Zoop. We are pooping.
Fuck yourself.
I want to end it there. I'm cutting it there. Done.
No, I insist.
Oh.
Yeah, sure.
Say
Why
it.
the hell not?
Do the roar.
All right, roar.
You're
You're gonna hear me roar.
Do it.
Zippity zoops, you
Zippity
don't die
zoop.
on the slide.
Oh, damn it. Zippity soup. Fuck it. I don't care.
Zippity zoop, scalded by soup.
Just gonna cut it for other ones.
Nope.
Those were
Nope.
all good. Do I really? Zippity soup. We're out of here.